Yes.
Thank you very much for your comments. I appreciate that. I think the convention is just a great respite for a lot of us. I keep saying it's my mantra. It's a happy place for us for a couple of days where we're dealing with topics we want to deal with. We're not having any social media foisting it on us. We're just sharing with one another. I think it's given everything that's going on in the world, man. This is a good place to be this way virtually, and I'm glad you feel that way about it. That's cool.
Yes, I do. Definitely. And Dina, this is Pippi. I just wanted to say thank you. I'm glad to see you here.
Glad to be here.
Hi. This is Jen Spears. Sorry about that.
Hey, Jen. Whoa.
Hi, Jen. It's Stephanie. Hi, everybody.
Oop.
Hi, Chris.
Oh.
Can't wait to heckle my husband when he presents. No, I'll be nice.
Hey, you'll be nice out loud, right? In your head, you're gonna be like,
I'll be on Twitter like or something. I don't know.
So how's everybody doing today?
Good. How are you doing?
Good. It's Nate.
Hey, Nate.
hello, Nate.
It's
Hey.
Stephanie.
Hey. Trying to figure out if I got my camera right. I'm guessing.
Steph, I'm super excited to hear your birth story. And one of these days, I'll be super excited to meet Pippi Jr.
Nate, your camera looks fine.
Okay. Appreciate it.
Somebody already has their hand up. Phone number ending in 39. I'll try to be more specific.
379.
Yeah, 379.
810-9379 has their hand up.
9379, that's right. Hello, 9379, *6.
I'm going to maybe lower their hand. It may be from last time.
Yeah, that could be.
Hi, everyone. This is Shao.
Oh, hey, Shao.
Hey, I can't tell if Nate's muted or not. So sorry, guys.
Well, let's see if I can do this because Liam's choosing now to be a little bit fussy. Hopefully
Nate
he's
says
going down now.
Nate shows muted.
And I've got a delivery coming.
A birthday delivery?
Well, they're showing up later than they were supposed to, so
That's how that usually works out. It just is authenticating your credentials by having Liam being a little fussy in the background.
that's fair.
Yeah. We're on the
Pippi can hear Pippi Jr. that way.
knock on wood, he might be good for now.
I'm sorry, what'd you say, Steph?
Oh, I said if Liam does end up crying in the background a little bit, then you'll get to hear Pippi Jr.
I feel like I want to come see him, but with COVID and blah, 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 I haven't asked because I do have to go out into the public and stuff, and he's so little. And
I appreciate that. He will be getting his immunizations pretty soon, and I'll feel more comfortable at that point. But even so, we do take him down to Jen and Sean's, but I do interact with them every day. It's just hard. It's just complicated because I want him to see everybody, and I want him to be socialized, too. I want him to meet everybody.
Yeah.
We'll
His
make it
dad
happen.
is Brian Baldwin, so I think he's already socialized enough.
Good point.
Hey, Pippi.
Good point.
Hello.
I mean, I don't know what you mean by that.
Hey, Pippi.
Hello.
Hey, it's Jen.
Hey, Jen. Sorry.
No, you're fine. Last Friday, Sean had Mason, Jackson, and Liam at the same
Aw.
time.
One of you guys have that phone?
Well, I guess if he's exposed to preschool germs, then
Yeah, exactly. Pippi,
Well,
you
there
just
is
need to
that.
come over. You just need to come over.
safer. Yeah.
We
All
would
right,
both.
so
Curtis,
let's
Curtis,
see.
Tom still there?
Yes.
Curtis, it's Priscilla.
Hi, Priscilla.
I had my hand raised during the last outbreak, and I never got a chance to speak. So I would like to talk to you about that at a later date.
Okay. Yeah, this Zoom problem is hard to get everybody recognized, you know.
Yeah.
And I hope we do a better job at our chapter meetings.
We do.
Yeah, but it's
I
because
just
it was
wanted
kind of a press for time. So I'm sure that's why. I'm pretty sure there was a couple people that didn't get called on.
Oh, I think there
okay.
was a bunch because like there were lots of hands up actually, and we couldn't get to them all because the problem is how do you make a response short enough that you can squeeze in all the hands that are up? And it's harder
That's
when you're
understandable.
in a Zoom room. You know, like if you're in a big meeting room, you know, somebody who really wants the attention, they can stand up on a chair, they can, you know, but when you're on a Zoom like this, it's really hard to get the attention. I mean, I know how it is. I've been
Props
on
to the moderators, though.
yeah, well, I've been ignored on meetings where I have my hand too, so I just decided I wouldn't get my feelings hurt because it's tough to know how to jump up and down in a nice way. You know?
My feelings.
Maybe
my
they can add a
feelings
feature.
are
You can.
hurt.
Oh, I understand. And I'll tell you the nice thing about Zoom is when the hands go up, Zoom puts them in the right order so the top person is the one that you know raised their hand first. And as more hands go up, the names go down below. So that makes it totally fair for, you know, and the problem is anybody on a computer who is in this meeting right now, which I know you're not, but they can see the list and they know, you know, the people who are looking on their screens or listening with JAWS or whatever, they can see whose hands went up first and they can see, hey, it looks like they ignored that person. You can't get away with too much in a meeting like
Curtis,
this.
hi, this is Diane McGeorge, and I have my hand up, and I'm not going to fuss about you or anybody not seeing my hand, but I'm going to say this. This is the first time in history of the NFB of Colorado that we have ever dealt with this kind of a convention. Where it has to be virtual. And I think everybody, all the participants, all the moderators, all of us lay people who are here listening to the presentation, everybody has just been so patient and so respectful of each other. And I think that is just wonderful. I just wanted to say that. I'm done now. I'm going to put my hand down.
Who's in charge of this section?
That would be me.
Okay, so you get to
That's me.
run
Yep.
when we start. It's recording
That's.
now.
I was about to say we can get the show on the road. I know we've had some people come in and out, so I think we can maybe get rolling here. So for those who don't know me, I'm Nate Trela. I'm president of the Blind Parents Division, soon to be former president, stepping to a different board seat at the start of the year. But I am, excited we put together this panel here. We wanted to talk a lot about the parenting journey from different stages, from bringing baby home to watching them graduate and go away, or to the basement, where depending on how things are.
Hope they graduate and go away.
But anyway, so we got a great panel, a lot of parents talking about different stages, is their experience at different stages. Most of the speakers are going to be from NFB of Colorado, but first off, if she is on, it was going to be Dina Lambert talking about the adoption experience. Are you there, Dina?
Hey, everybody. All right. I guess you want me to go ahead and start?
Yeah, go ahead. Go right ahead.
Okay, great. Well, I'll try to be as succinct as possible, but I have a toddler in the background here. So hi, I'm Dina Lambert. I am part of the Maryland affiliate, and I have a very active 18-month-old who who his name is Caleb. So I began the adoption process, or at least thinking about becoming a mom, back in 2016. I got into a point in my career where I felt like, hey, I feel pretty settled. You know, is there something that I'd like to do? And one of those things was, well, should I go back to school and, you know, maybe try a different career, or should I, you know, go get a PhD? And realizing that could definitely put me in debt quite a bit, and nobody is really paying for doctorate degrees. I decided, well, maybe that's not my thing. And I, at the time, was working with Girl Scouts and leading a Daisy troop of about 12 girls. And I really enjoyed it. I also was mentoring a young lady who came from a really tough home environment. And I realized, like, hey, I really, you know, if I really want to make an impact with a child, you know, maybe I should, you know, pursue this adoption thing. So my biggest fears going into adoption is, well, would someone pick me? You know, most of us have entered in the dating world of some sort, and we have a lot of fears about, you know, what misconceptions or thoughts people may have about us. And so the first thing was kind of to check my own attitudes about parenting and blindness. And so it was great to connect with a parents division, as well as talking with other blind moms to kind of get a sense of, you know, how they do things, and then reach out to various adoption agencies. As part of the adoption process, you must complete a home study, and that's where you get to have a nice social worker come in and look and inspect your home and talk to you about all of your life history and tendencies and whatnot. And I know a lot of blind people may have had some, you know, negative experiences with social workers, but what I quickly found is that the social workers in this aspect are, you know, really trying to make sure that they capture what's most important to you, as far as the child that you ultimately could be matched with, and what you're prepared to handle. And that could relate to a lot of different things, to like ethnicity, to different types of exposures, drug or alcohol exposures, or just, you know, the family makeup. And I know for myself, I, you know, still had that fear of, I have to prove myself to my social worker that I can do this parent thing. So I signed up for like 10 training courses on parenting and first aid. And while all of that was really good, she told me, she said, hey, you know, you don't have to do all of this. It's great. You definitely should get some exposure with, you know, handling newborns. But I've have family members, and I've been in the schools where there's been blind teachers who have done great, you know, a great job at managing their classrooms and their students. I know what a blind person can do. So that kind of speaks to, we never, as blind people, know who is observing and what impact we may have for another person down the line. So I am thankful to whoever those people were for really presenting, you know, blindness as something that, you know, can be managed or dealt with, or just part of who they are, rather than a negative aspect, or a deterrent. So ultimately, I was approved by the agency to pursue adoption, and I did work with the like a publishing company to come up with what's called a profile book. And it's basically a marketing piece to say who you are as a family, what you can offer. Okay. Sorry. And as okay. So and then what older. So what you can basically your approach to family life, and so what I was able to talk with the marketing company was, hey, my cane, my guide dog are a part of who I am. I don't want to hide my blindness from the pictures that you put in this book. And so ultimately, I got the call in January of 2019. I was like, what? Did they actually read that paragraph that says that, hey, I'm blind? And the adoption agency said yes. And with adoption, you never know what kind of speaks to a birth parent for the kind of family they're looking for. And actually, for my son's birth family, she was, looking for someone who is involved in different activities that she could not provide for her own children. So ultimately, where that led to is we have an open adoption. We, keep in touch with each other. Blindness wasn't as big of a barrier as I thought. I think I faced the most challenging opinions were from the medical field when I had to get a physical as part of the adoption approval process. I think we all have kind of come across doctors or medical staff that kind of assert their opinion more so than their professional opinion. So yeah, it's definitely been an interesting journey being a single mom to an active boy, especially during a pandemic. But definitely getting advice from other blind parents and just people in the community has been a big help to me. So I don't want to go over time. So that's kind of my journey so far. My parents are very happy grandparents. They initially were very scared because of how adoption was presented over the past 30, 40 years. It was presented as, oh, these are young mothers or drug addicts or whatever. And that's not always the case. And certainly not the case for my son. So, but yeah, things have worked out really well.
It's fantastic to hear. I think what we want to do is try to go through every speaker first, and then we can kind of have time for some Q&A at the end, because I want to make sure we get a chance to get all these different perspectives represented. But that's really interesting. I had never heard of the profile book before. Is that something that's always part of the adoption process?
For most non-kinship related adoptions, especially in private adoption or international adoption, you do create some kind of book. And, a lot of families use like Shutterfly, or some people do it on their own. Some people create videos if they're especially if they're doing self-marketing. But yeah, it's basically you're trying to, I don't want to say sell yourself, but it kind of feels like that in a way. Because you want to, I thought of myself as being like the Mrs. Huxtable or Vivian Banks and being the well-rounded mother, Black mother.
There you go. Awesome. All right. So moving on to the hospital experience, we're going to have a couple different stories about that. First off, we're going to have our newest credentialed members, I guess, of the Parents Division with their 2-month-old Brian Baldwin and Steph Baldwin. If you either or both you want to talk about your experience at the hospital and what these first couple of months have been like.
Sure. Yeah. Let me make sure, because I just had to put his binky back in his face, and I've got spit up on my pajama pants, so I'm set. Yeah. Let me sit back down on my computer, so that'll be the better audio real quick.
And I'm at my office at CCB, so not as much spit up on my pajama pants at the moment.
All right. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So when we first got over to, decided what we were going to do, it was to go ahead and induce, because we were dealing with just a bit of stress at the time, and we ended up being a bit afraid and, at the time we were like, we're so far away from Sky Ridge, we don't want to have any issues getting over there. And so we decided to induce. And as the days got closer, it just didn't. It started feeling more real until we got to the day. Then it was like super real. And I remember on our way over, there was a million thoughts going through my head. One of which was, what are we going to expect from, everyone that we're going to encounter. And so we get over there, and the first thing we ended up doing was asking, where labor and delivery was. And so the lady at the front desk, she asked the security guard to take us upstairs, and he was just super nice. So that was our initial start to everything that had happened. He gets us up there, walks us up. He's like, "Oh, there's no one at this desk where I was going to drop you off, but here, follow me. We'll go to this other area." So, he took us over there. We get in, and we're like, all right, they take us over to our room. And we're like, all right, let's see, when does the fun start? And so no one had any issues with, leading us down the halls or anything like that. They asked how we wanted to do it. We just said, just talk to us, left and right us, and we'll follow along. And that's exactly what they did. And then, getting into the room, the first nurse that we dealt with actually told us, like, feel free to just walk around and just explore the room, touch whatever you like, all that, whatever you need to do. Feel free to do that. And we were just like, kind of flabbergasted at first. We were like, wow, what? Wow. Because we'd heard so many stories of people, that have had to deal with really bad experiences, be it with the nurses, doctors, any other staff members, and social workers. And so we kind of went in with this really heavy guard up, and then that nurse ended up talking about how if Steph needed to get up to go use the restroom or anything like that, to call somebody because they needed to unhook her machine, because they weren't really they were visual, they were color coded on there. It was just two pieces. And so we're like, well, is there anything we could do, like, to make that more tactile? And as we were saying it at the same time, the nurse was saying, yeah, she could, put tape on one set. So that way, you match the tape with the tape, the no tape with the no tape, and then she wouldn't have to call anybody to go. So from minute one, it was like our nurses were really working with us to help us out. And we thought that was just fantastic, but still on our guard. And it never stopped. Each nurse would come in, they'd ask us, questions, what we needed, if we needed anything. And, we made sure to tell them, if they could just make sure to explain things to us that, most people would look at visually or whatever. And they were all very accommodating with that. And I think the only time that we really had like a scary moment was when this lady comes in, and this is after Liam was born. And she said that she was with management, and we're like, oh no. And she said that she just wanted to make sure that all of our accessibility needs were being met. And then she offered to buy us Starbucks. And that was the one moment where we were like, oh no. But, even to the point where Liam was a surprise C-section. And so an emergency C-section. So, when they came in, they, read off the form for Steph to sign, and, they wheeled her off and, told me to get into this little outfit, and they said they'd be back for me. And the nurse that came back to get me, I'd never met her before. She just asked me how I wanted to do this. And I was like, I'm trying to run, so I'll take your elbow. Like, normally I just tell you, to right and left me. But, and she's like, oh no, there's no hurry. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, so she just took me back over there, sat me down right beside Steph in the operating room. And the part that wasn't running through my head, but apparently had been running through Steph's head, was initially when we first got in, they asked if I wanted to cut the umbilical cord the first night we got in. And I said, yeah. And I had forgotten all about that, in that state of mind in the OR. Steph had apparently asked them before I'd shown up if I was still going to be able to do that. And they're like, oh yeah, no, completely. And so it wasn't until after they had pulled him out and they brought him over to the warmer, and they're like, all right, Dad, you want to come over and cut the umbilical cord? I was like, what? Oh yeah. And so, I got over there, I had my cane in my hand, and, in my other hand, they handed me the scissors, and she like guided my hand over to the umbilical cord, and had me snip, I snipped it and everything. And that was just one of those experiences that didn't really hit me until, way later on because of with everything that was happening. So like overall, it was a very, very good experience. And I was, thought we were really fortunate to have had that experience considering how many stories we've heard that just didn't end that well. And there was no social workers that came to visit us. I think we only had one nurse that we remotely didn't like, and that wasn't even because of anything she did involving our blindness. But it was just a really great experience for us, considering how just stressed out and worried we were at the time. So yeah, we were really fortunate for all that.
That's great. I know you guys at least got back in touch with at least one of the nurses from one of the ABC affiliate, Channel 7, that did the little piece on you guys.
It was Fox 31 did
Fox 31.
They did a piece because the same management lady, she wanted to do kind of an interview with us and for their like Facebook page or whatever, and they ended up doing an interview. And then they got in contact, I guess, with Fox 31, and then we did an interview here at our house. And then they spliced together, I guess, footage of us from the interview and, us from here, and put that all together for like this news piece. And it was really cool to, because we heard, Stephanie, blah blah blah, and Stephanie over, my Stephanie's like, me, and they're like, oh no, the other Stephanie. She looks over me, she's like, I wonder if that's the Stephanie from the hospital. And we weren't, 2 minutes later, she's like, hey guys, it's me we're like, oh yeah, it is. So that was a really cool thing.
That's cool.
And that was the nurse. Stephanie was the nurse that helped make the different colored cords tactile for us, and she's new to nursing. I think she's been in the field for about 2 years or so, and she mentioned how having like blind patients this early off in her career was going to set a standard for her. And it felt, I think we both felt really honored to kind of be a part of her experience as a nurse, to educate her just by being ourselves. And the one thing I wanted to say is that we both wanted to make the voice we had through being interviewed and through being on the news to say that, yes, we were treated exceptionally well, but that shouldn't be the exception. It should be how blind. And I felt a little bad saying that. I said that to the manager. I was like, you guys have done great, but truly that's how it should be every single time. And it's not. And that's nothing on you, because obviously you guys are doing a great job. But we, like Brian said, did come in with our guard up because we've heard horror stories of children being taken away, we walked in there both a little nervous about that. Like giving birth, I knew I could do. Dealing with a social worker who was trying to, where I had to defend myself as a blind person, I felt like I could do too, but I was just intimidated by the thought of that. So yeah.
Fantastic. Well, it sounds like everything's gone well. It sounds like Liam is quite the squirmer, I've heard. So he's
very much so.
Quick. Yeah,
very much so. Yes.
All right. Well, we're doing this meeting on Zoom, so we can be anywhere in the world. In this case, for our next speaker, I'm going to go to the other end of the couch here. My wife, Xiao Triel, is going to talk a little bit about our hospital experience, which was a little more challenging, but I think is a good. She can share a little bit about how being prepared and being certain about your abilities and your rights goes a long way.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak with you. Hopefully, some of you might take my words to heart. From my heart to yours. I thought at first I was going to write down this awesome speech, and then I was like, you know what? I'm just going to wing it. So, when I first found out I was pregnant, I wanted to, I was so excited. I wanted to shout it from the rooftops, but I kind of kept it to myself for a while. I guess for you to understand my story, I wanted to share with you guys that 6 months before I found out I was pregnant, I had a cochlear implant surgery. A little bit under a year before I found out I was pregnant, I lost my hearing in my right ear, completely deaf. And I always tell people I could rock it being blind, but being deafblind is a new challenge for me. And so I still hate my cochlear, but people tell me not to give up on it. But anyway, the reason why I share that with you is because it has a lot to do with how I dealt with a lot of things during my pregnancy and after. I found out that I was pregnant, and I was first excited, and then I got scared because I was like, whoa, like I can't even cross a street independently on my own anymore, which I used to be able to do. And now it's extra hard. How am I going to take my daughter anywhere? And here I am still trying so hard not to rely on things like Uber and Lyft and paratransit. And I didn't want that to be my life. So I didn't want that to be my daughter's life. So I went to read a ton of baby books. I signed up with DVR already, trying to learn how to cross streets independently with my hearing aid. And I did a lot of researching on C-sections because we knew I was going to have a C-section. And so I did that. I also am a huge believer in parents taking as much classes and filling yourselves with as much knowledge as possible. And I decided to sign up for classes, parenting classes, like breastfeeding classes and how to wrap a newborn and different things like that. And I mean, at the time, I didn't have a job, so it was kind of nice because my job was trying to learn all these things. I think of it like going to college. When you're going to college, you have to reach out to the professor or the disability services and talk about the accommodations that you might need. And I did the same thing for my parenting classes. Hey, just to let you know, I'm blind. Do you guys have any handouts that are in electronic format? Is there anything that I can put my hands on so I could see it? And they were amazing. The hospital was amazing. My OB/GYN, I kind of, I'm not a one to kind of avoid the elephant in the room. I tend to, I will be like, yes, so I'm blind. Do you have any questions about how a blind parent can do things? And my OB, I'm like, I'm very open to questions. Please let me know. And not gonna lie, some of the stuff was, I didn't know how I was gonna do it, but I read a lot of blind parents do these things like measuring medication. Apparently they make a marker out of a syringe and you can pull it up and you can feel the marker. And that's how you know how much medicine you're giving your child. I mean, I have bonus kids, but they were much, much older when I came into their lives. And so they weren't babies. And so part of the things that I was spouting at the nurses, they were like, oh yeah, it makes sense. And I'm like, thank God it does to you, because I have never done that before. But I wasn't gonna tell them that. It was like overconfident, bravo, yes, I can do this. But inside I was very, very scared. So I always like to show people the iPhone, and I'm a techie person. I love technology. I think technology is the greatest thing ever. But I would show them my Baby Center app, and I'd ask the different nurses things like, oh, how big is my baby now? Do you have something like, can we do a 3D ultrasound? I want to feel how my baby's looks like in my womb, and different things like that. So my nurses were amazing. My OB was amazing. And then I had my C-section. And of course, me being new at this, I didn't realize, I don't know why I didn't realize this, but these are different people. So I spent all my time educating this team of people who is going to go through this with me when I found out I was pregnant at 10 weeks. So, I spent all this time educating these people, and then I'm not even going to be working with them in the hospital. And I was like, okay, this is annoying, whatever. Okay, that's fine. I'll handle this. And I had my C-section, my daughter, I'm a diabetic, and we had to really be on top of my sugars when I was carrying my daughter, and I was lucky enough to get the Dexcom receiver, which is a constant glucose monitoring system, and it was amazing because I could pair it to my iPhone and just see my sugars and realize, they say steel cut oats are really good, and it's supposed to be like low carb, but it does funky things to my body, so I can't eat that anymore. My sugars go wicked high. Needless to say, when I had my baby girl, her sugars were really low, and we actually had her in the NICU for a week. And here I am still trying to not let my anxiety rule me. But I also wanted to prove to myself and my care team that I was capable of being a mom. Those of you who don't know, I struggle a lot with traveling, and I don't struggle with traveling. Like I have a pretty good picture of where I'm at. But the problem is with my hearing loss, it has made things very hard to differentiate whether things are in front of me or behind me or whatever. It's just really hard. I shoreline a lot nowadays. And so when my daughter was in the NICU, I didn't want to just be stuck in my hospital room. I wanted to visit my daughter. And at first, they were like, well, you just ring for us when you want to go see your daughter, and you will get to see her. We'll bring you to her. And I thought, heck no, I'm going to learn the route, and I'm going to figure out how to get from my room to the NICU and hold my baby girl. And I did it. I don't know how I did it. I think sometimes I amaze myself with like, whoa, how did I learn the route? Like, I just figured it out. And I think the coolest thing was my husband was still following me, like, hey, which turn do we make now? I'm like, no, we got to go right up here after this turn. And it was just like, and that's weird. That's different because, usually my husband's like, hey, Shao, you're veering way left, or something like that. And so, but the coolest thing was I was able to visit her whenever I wanted. I was still learning how to use things like the pump. I had practiced changing a teddy bear when I was pregnant to put a diaper on it and like swaddle it and play with dolls and try to like my mom would be watching me and she's like, Shell, you're not supporting the head. And I'm like, oh yeah. So I was still kind of nervous. Like, I know that a life thing was so different from like a toy, but I I went and I spoke with the nurses, and I was like, like, I know that they must deal with nervous parents all the time, not because they're blind, but because it's a new thing. So I actually asked my nurses, hey, how do you swaddle? How are you swaddling my baby? Can you show me how you did it? And so they did. And I had a really great relationship with the nurses, and figured out how to change my daughter with a belly button thing where you have to like not get it wet. And then I figured out where, and I showed, they were concerned because they were like, how are you going to give her, how are you going to tell when she's not breathing? And I was able to show them that I could feel my daughter kind of like hesitate. She basically was born early so that she couldn't breathe and suck on her bottle at the same time. So the oxygen thing would beep, but I had to be able to distinguish between the beeps of the other babies in the NICU and my baby not breathing. And so I did it. And for me, a lot of it wasn't really the blind thing. It really was the hearing loss. And I think what was the most amazing thing was when I when I was changing her and I just felt so comfortable. The nurses all were very receptive to just the questions. So all that time I spent teaching my care team when I was pregnant kind of came back to me, because it was like, oh, this is just, I'm saying it glibly and I know what I'm talking about. And I can, I had the nurses actually mark syringes for me so I could give her, figure out how many ounces of breast milk she took. So I'd say, oh, you know, so what I would do is pump. I had to pump and then pour the milk into the bottle and have her measure. I measured it and it was like 30 milliliters, sorry. And so then I had to take it out and measure the stuff that she didn't eat. And I realized, oh, there's about 3 milliliters. So she actually had 27 milliliters during this feeding session. So, of course, I had a lot of great friends. Maureen was such an amazing support. She had Logan. Logan's 8 months older than my daughter. And it was just very amazing to just be able to reach out to people. I really, really encourage all my blind parents to kind of reach out to each other, because we're in it together. We may have different circumstances, but we do have each other. One of the things that was really, really hard for me, and I promise I'll try to wrap up soon. One of the things that was really, really hard was when I went to when Nate had to leave for our bonus daughter was having a my bonus daughter was having a play, and Nate had to go see her, and there was a social worker that came to talk to me and was like, so I understand that you guys are blind, both blind. It was very, very scary for them that both of us were blind, to be able to go home with a newborn who ended up having jaundice, ended up being in the NICU, preemie, things like that, and struggling with oxygen and things like that. And so they were very afraid to have us go home with her. And they were, the social worker was like, there is a program out there where people can come and visit you every day and take care of your child and help. Basically, a nurse would be coming into our house and taking care of our baby and making sure that she's okay, and they can follow her until my daughter's 2. And at first I thought, oh, how interesting. Like I didn't even know that she was basically concerned about the blind parenting thing. I just thought, oh, does everybody have this? And she's like, no, we just like to offer it for people who are on Medicaid. And I was like, wait, first of all, I'm not on Medicaid. My husband works. He has a good job right now. I don't, but like, I was just so confused. And so they were, then I realized, oh, they're concerned about the blindness. And I actually we were going to have a blind parent seminar a few months later, and to teach, to talk about these kinds of things like we're talking now, and also to talk about, share ideas between blind parents. And I actually invited the social worker. I said, oh, you know what? My husband's a member of the president of the Blind Parents Division, and we actually advocate a lot for blind parents. And you should definitely come to our seminar. And if you have any questions about how blind parents do things, definitely, like, you're definitely invited, And they actually had the doctors were the ones who were really concerned. And then they sent another social worker to see us, and the nurses were like, what are you guys talking about? She's killing it, like just taking care of her baby and going from room, like wherever she needs to go. And she's showing us how blind people do things. And it's amazing. And if I ever have time in my very, very busy day, I would actually love to be an advocate for hospitals to do this kind of thing where, just be open about things that you concerns that you have, because if you hide your concerns, and if you're not willing to be vulnerable and let people kind of ask you whatever questions they want to know, then it's it won't make it easier for the next people. And it's just always a learning experience. So I don't know. My advice to anybody being a parent is be prepared, because no matter what, even though you try so hard to be prepared for things, like I try to anticipate everything. I did not anticipate the doctors and the nurses, the doctors and the social workers being that way. But at the same time, being prepared helped me shrug it off and just keep on moving. So yeah, that's my story.
Great. And one of the things about being prepared that's always helpful is to familiarize yourself with Colorado's law protecting the rights of parents with disabilities. There's the NFB really took the lead on putting this together and giving us probably one of the strongest, if not the strongest, laws in the nation for protecting our rights. So it doesn't hurt to familiarize yourself with that before or at any point. Moving on, as we're kind of running up on time a little bit here, I want to have a little talk about the toddler years. Jen Spears, are you there?
Yes, I am. Can
All
everybody
right.
hear me?
Take it away.
All right, great. So this is Jen Spears, and I was racking my brain as to the best way to go about this. So I'm really going to place a lot of emphasis on the park, because it's a great place to bring your little one. They can run around, they can climb, they can slide. Kids need that outside time. So I can give you a couple of little tips leading up to getting to the park. One would be a fun backpack. Mason has a monkey. He doesn't really use it anymore because he's almost 5 now, but I would have the monkey backpack on him, and then I would hold the tail going to the park. And then once we got to the park, I would undo it so he could run, and I would be playing with him, climbing on the equipment with him, and he would also have squeaky shoes on. So those are a couple tips for, well, how do you hear your kid? What are you going to do, if he gets away from you? So that's a couple little tips. And then playing with them. When they're smaller, you can do bells. But my son was so smart, he would move slow enough that the bells would not jingle. So that's when the squeaky shoes really came in handy, because he actually liked those. He liked making that sound. And of course, it annoyed everybody who didn't need to hear it, but it was handy for us. So I'm supposed to share a challenge. Now, I'm sure people have a feeling as to what I'm going to say. I really hated potty training. I'm not just going to be honest with you guys, and it's not even a blind thing. It's just, it was the frustration of it's either why doesn't he want to do it or why doesn't he understand? I think he did understand, and I'm going to go back to the park now for a very quick story. I know we don't have a lot of time. So I would always have him try to go to the bathroom before we went, somewhere, and that's good for anybody to do. I told him, I said, if you have an accident, we're going to have to come home. The park is just a couple of minutes away from our house. So we established that rule. If you have an accident, we have to come home and change. Not to be mean, but just, to understand that we have to start saying, hey, I have to go potty. So we get there and we're playing, and he says, oh, let's play hide and seek. You go over there and I'm going to go over here. And in his language, that was, I have to go to the bathroom, but I don't want to tell you. And I wound up finding him with soiled pants. So guess what? We had to go home. And he wasn't happy, but I think that helped to, establish that when you soil yourself, it's not fun, and you end up having to clean up. And so that's a couple of quick things, but if I had more time, I could say more. But anyway, I also wanted to be known that Mason was my 3rd pregnancy. And I'm not saying that to make people sad or anything like that. I'm saying it so it's known how loved he really is. So that's what I'll say for now, since I know other people want to talk.
Oh, there's certainly a little more time if you want to expand on anything there. We're right on pace, so you've got a couple more minutes.
Oh, we are? Oh, okay. I thought we were running behind. So, and then something else too. If anybody doesn't have children yet and wants to be a parent someday. If it's too quiet, that's an indication that little one is into something. So that's just another little tip there. And then there's always this is something else I thought about saying too. I guess I can. There's always that little gut thing in the back of your head, like, is somebody going to call? And is somebody going to show up at your door wondering if you can take care of your little one? It gets less and less over time, but it doesn't fully go away. You just wonder who's going to see you, in public, walking down the street or at the park or on the bus. So that's something that I'll admit I still struggle with. I know he's loved and taken care of, and anybody who knows Mason knows he's loved and taken care of, but strangers, make assumptions. So that's another thing that is a bit of a tough thing sometimes.
Okay, well, there's a lot of different aspects to think about. I know we're looking forward to some of those with Shauna now that she's 18 months. We're heading into the potty training years and everything. And Mason, of course, is about the same age as our Jackson, our next, whose mom, Chris, is the next speaker here, and she's going to talk a little bit about the preschool experience, how that is going so far. Chris, you there?
All right, I am. Sorry, I was making sure I was unmuted and my speech was off so I don't hear everybody who comes in and leaves. So I am Jackson's mom, and Jackson is 4 also. Now he's almost 5. And preschool has definitely been different this year from anything that I would have expected, than anything that anyone would have expected, I guess. I think the first thing we dealt with was the paperwork to sign up, and Anahit, our Anahit, was really helpful with the first round of it with me. She also helped me kind of know what to say and how much not to say and things like that, and that was very helpful because I like to tell people everything, and sometimes that's not always the way to go. But then the second round of paperwork came in under quarantine. So we had to figure out exactly how that would work. I scanned some of it, but it was honestly a mess. So actually, Darian's mom, Jackson's dad's mom, was helped us out a lot. She worked over FaceTime with us, and there were some visual questions on the form, can your kid do this? So we had him do it, and then we, sent the pictures to her and had her look at them and then fill out the form accordingly. So that was really helpful, and that's how we handled that during a time when you couldn't get a reader and you couldn't go anywhere to get anybody to help you do that. So our next thing was we had a meet and greet with the teacher, which we were actually able to do in person, which was really nice. She was over helpful at the beginning, which didn't really surprise me, but she took really well to us just explaining. I think it's always about kind of explaining things from the beginning. In a lot of cases, I tell this to my seniors all the time too, but it's about explaining kind of what you need, very clearly what you need and what the cane does, because one of the hardest parts at the beginning was, we're dropping the kids off at different places and picking them up at different places. We're not allowed in the buildings. So we were walking back to that place from the parking lot, and she wanted us to stay in kind of this perfect straight line, not too close to the fence, but not too close to the cars that were driving. And of course, being out in the middle of a parking lot in this perfect straight line meant nothing to us. We had no idea where we were then because there were no landmarks, there was no anything. So what we did later is we told her, we said, okay, so if we're going to go kind of explore the area. This was after we dropped him off on the first day. I said, so if you see us wandering around, we're really not. We're checking this out and we're figuring this out. And they were really good with that. They were really understanding about that, the whole school staff. I think it also helped that some other kids of families that we knew had gone there. So it wasn't the first time that some of these teachers had experienced this. But we also did parent-teacher conferences over Google Meet. I have not been brave enough to turn my video on any of these things yet. which is okay. I'm learning that we're not the only parents that do that. But I don't want to try to hold a phone and figure out if they're really looking at me and things like that. I think really the hardest thing, and part of it is the pandemic, and part of it is just the babysitting arrangement that we have. But I don't know his friends and his friends' parents yet. So we've not really had the experience of what do the kids think of me and his dad as a blind person, and getting to go in the classroom and talk to the kids, and what do the parents think, and none of that. Brittany Savage has had a little bit more experience with that because she does take the kids to school. But the couple times that I've gone to pick him up, everybody's just silent. I hear feet crunching on the snow and no words, no nothing as we stand in line. So that's been a little strange. Jackson talks about his friends, but we don't really know them yet. I think there really has felt kind of a disconnection this year, and I'm really looking forward to the point when we really are able to get that experience of going in the classroom and meeting the parents. And I think the things that parents worry about, how are the parents going to perceive me and things like that, we're going to get that probably about a year or so late. So ask me next year, and I'll tell you how that worked. But I think that information coming home has also been another thing. I want to preface this by saying that I know that I am really lucky. My kid reads, and I know that is not something that usually happens, and we didn't really make that happen. I don't know how, but he does. He reads, and he wants to read everything. So actually, the challenge that I've had is making sure that he knows that isn't his responsibility, that if he wants to, absolutely go for it. But if he's in the middle of a really, a longer flyer that's come home and he says, I don't want to read anymore, I'm tired, that is absolutely, it is his choice that he wants to do this. And I have to know that there are other ways for me to get the information if he chooses that he doesn't want to. So I use Seeing AI on my phone. I also use Envision, which is a similar app, but I think it has a little bit more. I like the OCR a little better, but it is a subscription app. So, there is that. I haven't used Ira and Be My Eyes that much, but I know that they are out there and they're available. I also use FaceTime with my parents and other people, and I send pictures to people of things. Also, when he's reading, he spells things, which I think is actually really good for both of us. I know what word he's trying to pronounce, and he is getting the experience of that. So I think that they're also working on writing his name, and he brings it home every day, but sometimes I don't ask what it looks like. So now I've started to ask him to describe to me what it looks like, because in parent-teacher conferences, they said that's something they're really trying to work on with him, is getting his letters to look right. So I want to get one of those tactile art boards eventually. But the thing that I do now is when he brings home pictures, I read this somewhere, I'll ask him, instead of saying, well, what is this? I ask him, well, can you tell me about this picture? Because it acknowledges that I can't see it, but it also, I want him to describe to me what it is that he's done. So I think that transportation has actually really been the most immediate issue for us with RTD and the buses as they are right now. The bus to and from school runs every hour. So Brittany and the kids get there 45 minutes early, which was fine in the summer and the fall, but it's getting really cold. So we were thinking already of some ways that we could do this other than taking Ubers every day, which is not going to be a sustainable option for forever. And then the school actually approached us and said they wanted to come up with something because they didn't want us to have to deal with this. So we just got news today that they're going to be able to ride the school bus, which is actually really exciting because Jackson has been so excited to ride the bus, but his kindergarten is actually going to be right next door to our house. So I was going to have to break the news to him that he was not going to get to ride the bus. So the thing that I do use, and I heard about this first at National Convention. So we have him in a booster seat now, and it's called the MyFold, M-I-Fold, the MyFold booster, and it fits in my backpack. It's beautiful. It folds up to about the size of like a pretty good size large book, not a small book, but it folds up really small, and it's safe. It meets all the guidelines, but I can just, he can carry it up to the Uber, and he can actually put himself in it for the most part now. So I think that's been, that's been amazing. That, not exaggerating, changed our lives. Not having to drag around a giant car seat. We were counting down days, actually, until he was heavy enough and tall enough. So those have really been the big preschool things. I also really keep him involved in the kitchen because he's actually getting pickier as he's getting older. So he does cook with me, and I think he actually eats things more because he knows what's in them. So, he's definitely independent at this age. He knows how to make the TV do things that I don't know how he makes the TV do it. He talks to it and it listens. He also, he wants to change the batteries in all his toys, which, with supervision, I let him do. And he is also already at that age where he wants to tell us when to cross the street. He is correct. And I will tell him that he's correct, but I will also tell him that we don't go when he says to. But he is, it's kind of a balance, I think, right now. I'm not so great at letting go. And I need to trust him more and myself more, I think. But at the same time, it is really cool to see him expanding and looking at the world in the way that he does. We carved a pumpkin this weekend. This is the last thing I'll say. And he came up with the idea to use cookie cutters. Now we had to beat them in with a meat mallet, which was wonderful stress relief and fun for him. But that was his idea, to use the cookie cutters. So he is really, really creative, and I do love the way that he looks at the world. So I'm looking forward to experiencing the rest of preschool and beyond with him. So.
Lot to look forward to there for us too. All right, moving along to elementary age kids. Ina Bertrand, you were going to talk a little bit about you are our most credentialed member, I think, with the 5 little and not so little ones anymore. I know that you've got a couple high schoolers running around. But Ina, are you there? Great. So a lot of stuff we have to look forward to with our little one there that you guys are doing now, Chris. Bertrand, are you still there? Are you there? Ina, are you there to talk about the?
Oh, hi. I'm here. I'm not sure how to unmute myself though.
No worries. No worries.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can. Yeah. You're our most credentialed member. I think with the 5 little and not so little ones you have running around there between the twins and up to Gavin.
Yes.
But yeah, if you can talk a little bit about the elementary school experience.
Oh yes. Yes. Hi everyone. This is Ina Bertrand. I am a blind parent of 5 kiddos. Pretty energetic and kind of chaotic most of the time. So I have twin boys that are in elementary school right now, but all of them have gone there. Gavin is in high school, as well as his sister Sienna, and Olivia's in middle school now. So they have all attended the same elementary school, which is lucky for us, only 4 blocks within walking distance from our house. So that's always been a very nice, thing to have, since we can walk there and come back in no time. And I've, for the most part, have had really good experiences with elementary school. with the teachers, with all of their grades. Everyone's been wonderful. They've always been able to assist in helping bringing homework home and telling us what they have for that day, sending emails. And so with the communication with the teachers has been really, really good. We have sometimes struggled when it comes to technology, since they've been able to get Chromebooks, all of them. The Chromebooks have been the biggest issue for all of us because we can't, well, my husband and I, we can't see the text on the Chromebooks. And when there is homework that requires us to see it, for example, the math that they provide isn't very, they'll put it on the screen as for someone that's visual and they can see the problem. But I have to have my kids describe to me what the problem is, read it to me. And there's the math is probably one of the issues, but it's probably the easiest considering that they can explain it to me. Because when we come to other subjects like social studies and they have the map of the country, things like that, it gets a little bit hard for us. So I'll have to explain to the teacher that, well, my husband and I are both blind. Is there another format? Just let me know if there's another way to make it accessible for us. So that communication piece is with accessibility is our most challenge, or the biggest challenge in elementary school. But aside from that, everyone, like I said, everyone there has been just as long as we explain to them what we can, have issues with, then they're very likely to help us with that. So I feel like other than that, everyone in elementary school has been wonderful. And I'm just so thankful that we have had all of our kids there. So it seems like the elementary school is sort of our second home away from home. So, I just feel like we've been very thankful for that.
Great. It sounds like you said there, a lot of it is the communicating with the teachers and helps build those bridges and make everything run more smoothly.
Definitely.
I appreciate everybody's patience here. We're running a little behind. I misread the time earlier. For talk about the middle school years, we had Jo Elizabeth Pinto. Are you on? Jo Elizabeth, are you still there? Okay. Well, to it, and then I will kind of. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Nina.
And can you hear me?
Oh, Jo Elizabeth, there you are.
Yes. My daughter Sarah is in middle school now, and I think the biggest difference between elementary school and middle school has been that instead of one teacher, you have 5 or 6 or 7 to communicate with. And so I think the biggest difference is getting on the ball with communicating with all of the teachers at the beginning of the year, and starting to establish email or phone communication with all of the teachers from the beginning. And it's easier with some of them than it is with others, especially now with the pandemic and not being able to get into the building and talk to them and meet them in person. And some of them are more willing to be communicative than others, but elementary school seems very cozy and warm and communicative, and middle school is a bit more like a lake than a pond. And so the challenge is getting them all to be on the same page. Kids are also a lot more independent in middle school, and they don't necessarily want you talking to their teachers. So it's a little more overwhelming, but I think once you get to have some kind of a email relationship with their teachers and then keeping it up, because elementary school teachers know all of their kids, and they have a class of 20 or 30 kids. And so they know them by name and face, and middle school teachers might have 60 or 90 or 120 kids throughout the day. And so they don't necessarily know your kid unless you keep them at the top of their mind. And so you kind of have to learn to be a little bit of an irritant or a pain in the butt to keep your kid on their mind, especially if your kid is not doing well, or your kid needs special help. You have to advocate for your child. And so you might have to email those teachers once a week and say, does my kid have missing assignments, or does my kid need anything? Because they have, Infinite Campus and Google Classroom and all these fancy schmancy things that don't necessarily work for blind parents, or don't work very well. And so if your kid is willing to help you, or your kid is willing to keep up, that's great. But if they're not, and they're more interested in their friends and their video games and their whatever else they're interested in, you may have to be a thorn in somebody's side over at the school. And I've learned to be a thorn very well. The other thing I wanted to say, and I'm not saying this just to sell my wares, I'm really not, but I have written a book that summarizes a lot of these experiences that you all are going through. It's called Daddy Won't Let Mom Drive the Car, and it's available under my name, Jo Elizabeth Pinto, at Amazon, and it's on Audible and Kindle. And I'm only saying it because you might find a lot of laughs in there, and you might find a lot of what you're looking forward to in your preschool, especially in your preschool and elementary years. It talks about social awkwardness, and it talks about toddlers running away from you, and it talks about cooking with your kids, and it talks about a lot of stuff that has been covered in this meeting. So if you're interested, you might look up that book on Amazon and enjoy some stories about things that we've talked about in this meeting. So
Thank you, Jo. We have about 5 minutes until the next seminar starts.
Okay.
So we got to get things wrapped up. Thank you.
all right.
Sure. If I apologize for losing track of the time there a little bit. If I could
I'm
just
sorry.
pop in.
I shouldn't have.
No. Oh, you took no. It was fine too, Joel.
You guys had
I gotta
a late
over,
start too, so
we
it's,
had a late
it's
start.
quite
Yeah.
all right.
Right. So, to kind of wrap things up here, the final step of the journey we're talking about is the high school years, and I will go as quickly, concisely as possible here. I know that one of the biggest issues, especially on a family with two blind parents, you face is if you have a sighted child, getting them behind the wheel. The cost of insurance is astronomical. This is where it helps to have a good network of friends and family that can help with the driving time too. They have to get in Colorado 40 hours behind the wheel. Or more than that, actually. A lot of hours behind the wheel. I've lost track of how many it was. And you can have friends or family do the driving with them, or you can pay through the nose at a driving school. I think I saw one that would do the entire program, all the behind the wheel training with a licensed instructor for about $2,000. So it's not cheap to do it that way. Another big issue in high school is simply getting your kids around activities. Once, like Sean mentioned, my older daughter was really involved in theater especially in her senior year of high school. We had to establish things like carpools. She had to become comfortable taking public transit because she didn't have her license yet. Part of that starts with, for me, when she used to go to the Denver School of Arts, which is up in I guess now called the Central Park neighborhood. From where we are in the DTC, I took a very long bus ride with her a couple times to make sure she was comfortable. She understood where she was going, knew where to get off, and after a few trips, she was comfortable. And so she would head out the door at 5:30 in the morning to go up there to that performing arts school because that's what she really wanted to do at the time. But having a network of other families to work with, to do carpools, to do whatnot. Sometimes with the carpools, you can offer, say, you know what, I'll go in an Uber and I'll pick them up. It's a little tougher now with the the limits on capacity, but you can offer to pick up one day like that if you're someone who's important to feel like you're carrying your weight in it. I had someone who would pick Maggie up from dance classes late at night, and I would handed her a Starbucks gift card every now and again. There are lots of things like that you can do to try to cover the bases on all that stuff. That's, I guess, really what we've gotten through. Everybody we had here. I appreciate everybody's time and thoughts. I was hoping we'd had a little time for a Q&A, but we did get off to a late start. But I'd encourage you to check out. We should have a Facebook page out for the division very soon. We will also, I think, be meeting a little more regularly in the new year. And I know our president-elect, Marie Needfeld, has some ideas for more activities and a more engaged division that you're at. But thanks everybody for your time, and good luck with the kiddos.
Thanks, everybody. The Guide Dog Seminar will start in about 2 minutes.
Hello, Paul. Oh, hey, Paul. How are you?
Hi there. Doing pretty good.
Are you going crazy yet?
Hi, guys. It's Melissa Allman.